In this video, I'm going to use the TI-83 calculator to construct a histogram and a box plot on the same screen, both from raw data and from a frequency table. And you can also use the TI-83. There are only slight differences between the two, and I'll try to mention what those differences are. Alright, let's go look at the data that we're going to use, and it's first coming from just a list of raw data. So I randomly sampled 10 students at my community college and asked them, how many TVs do you have in your house? And I received the following 10 responses. And we want to construct a histogram from this and a box plot with outliers. So if you look at the data here, most of the first 8 people only had between 0 and 3 TVs, and then we got somebody with 4 TVs, and then somebody with 7 TVs. 7 TVs seems like it's an outlier. It seems like a really high number, and we're going to use Boxplot to tell us whether it's an outlier or not. 4 might be an outlier. We'll figure out whether that's an outlier or not here in a second. So I'm going to go to the calculator now and enter that data, enter those 10 numbers. I turn my calculator on, and I'm going to go to Stat. So I'll press the Stat button here to get, and then press Edit to get to the Stat Edit screen. And I'm going to type in my 10 numbers. And go ahead and follow along with me as I'm doing this. And here again are my 10 numbers. I'm going to write these on a sheet of paper so I can put them in. So I'll put in 0, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 1, 4, 7. And even though it says 11 down here, there's not actually a value here. So if I press up, I'll see the 10th number is a 7. So I've got 10 numbers in there. After I type each number, I hit enter to put it in. Alright, I have my data in here, so let's quit out of here. Second, quit to go back to the home screen. And then I'm going to go to the stat plot screen. So here, second, and then stat plot. And all of my plots are off right now, but in case any of them are on, I only want to display the ones I want. So I could hit a 4 to turn the plots off. So I'll hit 4 and then enter to turn the plots off. So I'll go second and then stat plot again to go back to the stat plot menu. So I'm going to put, first I'm going to build a histogram in plot 1, and then we're going to lay a box plot over top of it in plot 2. So hit enter, and if you don't know how to build a histogram, you're going to see it right here, or go watch one of my videos about how to build a histogram. I need to turn the histogram on, so I'll click enter here. So now it's on. Press down. I want a histogram, that's this one over here, so I need to press over. There we go. And then I'll hit enter to choose the histogram. I'm using raw data. That raw data is in list 1, L1. And because it's raw data, I'm going to leave the frequency as a 1. If for some reason yours is something else, if yours says like L2 here, and you need to change that to a 1, because again, for raw data, we use whatever the list is. If you put your data in L3, you need to change this to L3. For the frequency, I need that to be a 1. Notice it's flashing an A there, so I need to stop that. I'm going to hit the alpha key over here to turn that off, and then I'll hit 1 for the frequency. So because my data is in L1, I use xlist of L1, and it's raw data, so I use a frequency of 1. So there's my histogram. I'm going to quit out of here, second, quit, and I'm going to build a default histogram. So I'm going to go to the zoom button, the top middle button here, and I'm going to do a zoom stat, which is number 9 in this list. If I go down here, I'll see number 9 is zoom stat. I can either just press 9 or go up to zoom stat and hit enter. So I only need to do this at the very beginning to build a default histogram. After I build it, I'm not going to do this again, otherwise it's going to get rid of all the work that I've done after I construct the histogram. So that's just to build a default histogram on the screen. Now I want to fix this because it doesn't look quite right. I want to go from 0 up to 7, and this looks like it's going from 0, 1, 2, 3. I don't know what it's going to. It doesn't look right. I need to have a class from 0 TVs to up to 7 TVs. So I'm going to go to the window. It's the second button from the left at the top here. And I want to start at 0. I want to pick an X max. Because I'm stepping up 0, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth, I'm stepping up by 1 every time. I need to make my X max bigger than my actual largest value. My largest value is 7, so I need to go 1 beyond that so that it will display the bars. So I'm going to make that 8, and because I'm stepping up by 1 every time, I'm going to make the X scale 1. I'm going to leave this stuff alone for right now, and I'll come back and fix it later when I build the box plot. So this is what I want: X min of 0, X max of 8, because my largest value was 7, and an X scale of 1, because the cars are being counted, they're discrete data, so I'm going up by 1 every time. So I'll hit graph, and now it's built my histogram, and of course it has to include a class here for 5 and 6, because nobody had 5 or 6 cars, but we still need to show that in the histogram. Alright, so there's my histogram, but I actually want to fix this because I want the value for each one to be marked at the midpoint of each bar. So I want it to be in the middle of the bar. If I want to see where the values are now, I'm going to go up the 4th button from the top left here, the trace button, or the second from the right. If I hit trace, it's going to show me each of the bars. It's going to show me where it starts, and it's going to show me the frequency. So this is saying that there's one person. Sorry, I'm going to do cars data in a second. There's one person that had 0 TVs. If I press the right arrow here, 2 people have 1 TV, 3 people have 2 TVs, so on and so forth. But notice it's putting the tick marks at the ends of the bar, and I kind of want this in the middle so that the box plot will look correct. So when I overlay the box plot on top of it, I want it to look I want it to come in the middle of each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the window. So right now, like that's 0, that's 1, that's 2. And that's fine because this is the bar for people with 1 car. The tick marks go from 1 to 2. But I actually want it to be right in the middle here. I want the 1 to be right here in the middle. I want the 0, 1, 2, so on and so forth. So to do that, if I want 0 here, I need to make this be negative 0.5. And same way, if I want to make this 7, because this is the bar for 7 TVs, I need to make the maximum value here 7.5. So I'm going to go back to the window, second button from the left on the top, and I'm going to change my minimum to negative 0.5. Oops, I'm just going to hit clear. So negative 0.5. And notice I can just type right over the value. I don't have to edit it in any way. I just hit enter. I'm just going to type right over top of this, 7.5. I'm going to leave the X scale at 1 because I still want it to step up by 1 from 0 cars to 0 TVs to 1 TV to 2 TVs, so on and so forth. So now I'm going to hit graph again, the right button at the top. And so now when I do a trace, here's the trace, 4th button from the top, or 4th button from the left on the top. Now I have to be able to realize that this means the class 0. This is class 1. 1 is between 0.5 and 1.5. But I can see it on here. That's 0. That's 1, 2. That's the classes. So like this bar here is the people with 3 TVs, because 3 is between 2.5 and 3.5. And so there's 2 people with 3 TVs in my data. And if I go over here, there's no people with 5 TVs, no people with 6 TVs, and 1 person with 7 TVs. So I'm going to lay a box plot, and it'll be on the top here, right up at the top. And I've left enough space so I don't need to change the Y max here. We might have to change this, and we'll change this when we look at the cars data. Alright, so I'm going to quit out of here, second quit. Go back to the stat plot, second stat plot. I'm going to leave this plot on, leave that alone. Go down to plot 2 and I'll hit enter. And now I'm going to turn on this plot 2, press down, and now I have to press over to get this. I can't press down. See, here's where I want the box plot down here, and if it has outliers it will show it. This box plot, even if it had outliers, it will not show it. This one, it will show me the outliers, and I want to check whether that 7 TVs is an outlier. So that's what it says in the original instructions. It says construct a histogram and a box plot with outliers for this data. So that was the choice. That way it will show outliers if there are any. If that 7 is an outlier, it's going to show it to me. So when I'm down in here to get to this, I don't press down, I press to the right. Again, if I choose this one, it won't show me the outliers even if they exist. Here, it's going to show it as an outlier. So I'm going to hit enter on that. And again, my data's raw data, it's coming from L1. So because it's raw data, I'll use a frequency of 1. So that's turned on. I picked a box plot with outliers. I'm all good. So I'm going to hit second quit to quit out of this. Do not do a zoom stat. Zoom stat will destroy everything that we did in the window, so just leave that alone. The window should be set up just nicely, and so I'm just going to go to graph. And so here now we see the box plot on top of the histogram we already built. It's all nicely lined up. So now when I do a trace, I can see here's the histogram, because that's plot 1, and it even tells me this is plot 1 and it's using data from L1. If I press up or down, it's going to go to plot 2, so I'll press up on the arrow key. Now this is plot 2, which is the box plot, and it's still using data from L1. So this tells me the minimum value, that's the minimum value here, is 0. The least number of TVs that anyone owns is 0. Here's the box. The middle of the box, I'm going to step over twice. The middle of the box is the median of the data. The median is 2 TVs. If we had put the data in order, so let me put the data in order. So here I've arranged the data in order. Since there are 10 numbers, 10 plus 1 is 11. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. 5.5 is right between 5 and 6. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th number and the 6th number, I had take both of those and average them to find the median. Well, the average of 2 and 2 is just going to be 2, so the median is going to be a 2. That splits the data in half. So let's look at the bottom half of the data here. That's the bottom half of the data, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. I'm going to find the middle of that data. The middle of that is a 1, so that's going to be Q1, or the first quartile. And then the top half of the data, so here was the median in the middle, the top half, 2, 3, 3, 4, 7. That's the top half of the data. And the middle of the top half of the data is a 3, so that's going to be Q3, or the third quartile. So in the box plot, we'll see first quartile, median of 2, so first quartile is 1, median is 2, third quartile is a 3. And then at the ends of the data is this stuff here. So that's what we're going to see on the box. First quartile is 1, second quartile is 2, third quartile is 3. Split the data in half to find the median. Look at the bottom half of the data. Here's the bottom half of the data. The middle one here is Q1. Look at the top half of the data. The middle one here is Q3. So let's go back to the box plot. So here's my box plot, and we can see when I do the trace in the middle, that's the median. If I press to the left, that's Q1, which is 1. Press back here, Q3 is 3, which we already saw from the data. The minimum value again over here, pressing over to the left, is 0. That was the smallest value. Here on the box plot, this isn't the maximum value, but it is the largest value in the data set, smaller than an outlier. So once we remove outliers, the right whisker here only goes out to whatever the next largest number is. So this is an outlier. That's what the box plot is showing us. If I press over here, it tells me 7 TVs definitely is an outlier. That's a way too many TVs to have in your house. Once that's removed from the data set, that means the next highest number is 4 TVs. That is not an outlier. We'd have to do the calculation to prove that that's not an outlier, but that is not an outlier. So that's why it fits, but it is the largest value that's not an outlier, and so that's the right whisker. And since 0 TVs is not an outlier, it is on the left whisker. So let me build the box plot real fast that doesn't include outliers to show you the difference. So I'm going to quit out of here, second, quit, go back to the stat plot menu, second, stat plot, come down here to plot number 2, which is where my box plot is, press down, and then press to the right to change this. And now I'm going to choose this box plot that doesn't show outliers. So I just hit enter. It has the same data and the same frequency of 1 because this is raw data. I'll hit second quit to quit out of this. Don't do a zoom stat. It's already set up perfectly. Hit graph. And now we'll see it builds the box plot and does not identify this as an outlier. It is an outlier. We've seen that. But if you want to build a box plot and you don't care about showing outliers, you just want to show the whole range of the data. If I do a trace now, this box plot, so here I'm on the histogram, I need to press up. This box plot shows me all the data and doesn't treat anything as an outlier. So the left whisker will always be the minimum value, 0. That's Q1. The end of the box, the left end of the box, the middle is always the median. The right end of the box is always Q3. And now here, because I'm not choosing to show outliers, the maximum value is a 7. And again, if I want to show outliers, I go back and I change it to that box plot with outliers. So I'll go back and do that again. Second, quit. Second, stat plot. Go down to plot 2. And now I'm going to change this back to a box plot with outliers. Same stuff. This down here, the mark, that's if you want to show the box plot marking, or the outlier marking. Here it shows it as a little square, or you can show it as a plus or a dot. Let me change it to a plus and show you what that looks like. So change that. Second, quit. Just go to the graph. Don't do a zoom stat. And here again, it shows the outlier at 7, and now it's showing it as a plus. All right. Now let's do this with a frequency table, data that's in a frequency table instead. Okay, we're going to leave everything alone, but we're going to do the zoom stat, but my plots are already set up, so I'm just going to use those. So now I'm going to go back to another data set. So I'm using this data set that's coming from the United States Bureau of the Census. This is the following data represent the number of available cars in a household based on a random sample of 25 households. I've used this data set in some of my other videos. Here's the 25 numbers. It says construct a histogram and a box plot for the data. Determine if there are any outliers. So we're going to use the box plot that shows outliers. Whether or not there are any, that's what we'll see. If it draws the box plot and it shows an outlier, it's an outlier. If it doesn't show an outlier, there are no outliers. So instead of typing in 25 numbers into the calculator, which is kind of cumbersome, I'm going to build a frequency table from this. So here's the frequency table I've constructed. For the people who own 0 cars in their households, so 0 cars per household, there are 4 households. There are 4 households that had 0 cars. Oops, I made a small mistake. You'll see this magically changed to different frequencies. I was using a different data set there. So here's 25 numbers. If you add up all these, they add up to 25. So 3 households have 0 cars, 6 households have 1 car, so on and so forth, down to the 1 household in the data set that had 5 cars. And here's the data set again, in case you want to build the frequency table yourself. So if you want to build the frequency table yourself first, here's the numbers. Pause this and write all those down. But let's go to the frequency table again. So there's the frequency table. So I'm going to put these numbers, the classes in L1 and the frequencies in L2, and then we're going to have to change the histogram and the box plot so that it uses the classes and frequencies instead of using raw data. So I'm going to put these numbers into the calculator now. So here we are back in the calculator. I'm going to quit out of this graph, so second quit. I'm going to hit stat. edit, and then I want to clear out this raw data because I'm not going to use it again. So press up, clear, enter, and now I'm going to type in my classes. So if you're following along with me on your calculator, here are the classes and the frequencies again. So this is going to go in L1 and this is going to go in L2. So in L1 I'm going to type the classes. So 0, enter, 1, enter, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make sure you hit enter after each number. Then I'll press to the right arrow key, and I'll type in my frequencies: 3, 6, 8, 5, 2, 1. So now I have my classes and the frequencies that go with those. So I'm going to quit out of here, second, quit. And now I'm going to go to the stat plot, second, stat plot. I'm going to fix my histogram here. So I'm going to hit plot 1, it's on. It's a histogram from before. My classes go in XList, that's my L1, but I need to change my frequencies to L2 because this is not raw data, this is a frequency table. So I'll hit second, L2, and enter. And now because my numbers are different, so let's take a look at the numbers again. My highest frequency is an 8, so I need to make sure that the graph is tall enough to allow for this. So the Y max has to be at least 8. And I also, there's no reason to think that I'm using the exact same classes. In fact, I'm not. I was using from 0 up to 7 for the previous data set. This only goes from 0 to 5. So let's just start fresh and do a zoom stat to build a default histogram. So from this screen, I need to quit out first, second, quit, go to zoom, the middle button on the top, either just press the 9 key, or come down, choose zoom stat, and hit enter. And well, look, there's my box plot. It built this kind of nice. Not quite right. Something's wrong. It doesn't. This does definitely not look right because it should go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somehow it's got a 6 on here. That's not right. It also has the box plot overlaying it. Well, let's go fix this first. Let's go fix the x-axis first. It should go from 0 up to 6. Remember, our largest class was a 5, and the x-max always has to be one more than that. So let's go and fix that. So I'm going to hit Window, second button from the left on the top here. Yeah, this is all wrong. So let's go down and do an x-max of 6, because again, my largest data value was a 5. Because I'm counting numbers, this is discrete data, I'm going to hit 1 here. I'm going to leave this stuff alone for right now and see what the graph looks like. So I'll hit graph. Okay, that's looking better. 0 cars, 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars. If I do a trace, it should look exactly like my frequency table. 3 people have 0 cars. 6 people have 1 car. 8 people have 2 cars. And so on and so forth. Alright? So that all looks good. But again, what I want to do is shift everything down by half, by 0.5, so that, again, the midpoint, the tick marks on here match up with the midpoint of each histogram bar. So go back to Window, change this to negative 0.5, so I go down a little bit, change this to 5.5, and so now when I hit graph, I'll say here's 0 cars, 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, and 5 cars. So now the tick marks line up with the middle of the bar. And I need that so that the box plot makes sense. Right now this box plot makes absolutely no sense. We got 2 problems with it. One is it's using just L1 at this point. It's not using the frequencies at all, so it's totally wrong. And also it's overlapping my histogram, and that doesn't look good. So what I need to do is take the Y max and extend it up, give it some taller value. So that the tallest bar right now, if I do a trace, the tallest bar is this one, and it is 8 high. So my Y max up here is probably like 9 something. And I need to make it way taller than that so that the box plot will fit in on top of it. Let's go fix the box plot first, and then we'll extend the Y max. So I'm going to quit out of this, second, quit. I'm going to go to stat plot, second stat plot. I already have my box plot turned on, so I'm just going to go down here and to number 2. It's already on, but if you're starting fresh and it wasn't on, you can turn yours on. So hit this one, make sure it's turned on, make sure that's outlined in black. Come down here, make sure, press to the right, and make sure you're choosing a histogram or a box plot with outliers. We'll see that this data set does not have outliers, but we still need to choose this. Don't get confused. This only shows outliers if they actually exist, and this data set does not have an outlier. So this is saying show them if they're there, but we'll see that they're not actually there. My classes again are coming from L1, that's the X list in this case, but since we're using a frequency table now, I need to change this to L2. I only use a 1 for the frequency if I'm using raw data. So I'm going to change this second L2, change that to L2. And again, this is what it's going to display. I'm going to switch back the outlier mark. This is the outlier mark here. I'm going to change it back to that little square. But again, as we'll see, there are no outliers in this data set, so it's not going to show them. But don't freak out because they're not there. It means they don't exist. If there are outliers, like we saw in the last data set, it will show them. If there aren't outliers, it will not show them. Alright, quit out of this. Second, quit. And let's go back to the graph. Don't do a zoom stat. We already fixed that. We did a zoom stat for the histogram. It already looks great so far. Hit graph. Hey, there's our corrected box plot, but it's overlapping our histogram. So let's fix that. Again, right now, Y max is about a 9, as we'll see when we go to the window. So I'm going to bump that up. Let's pick something like 12, and we'll see what that looks like. So go back to the window, second button from the left on the top. All this is good, but I want to change this to a Y max of 12. Hopefully that's enough space to fit the box plot above the histogram. So type 12 and hit enter. Again, you can type right over top of the number. You don't have to edit the number at all. And then hit graph. That looks good. I could make this a 15 if I wanted, or something taller so that there's more space, but this looks really good. So here's my box plot here, and let's check it to make sure the values are what we think they are. But again, it's showing no outliers. There's no outliers in this data. That's why it's not showing any dots, because there are no outliers. So I'm going to do the trace again. Here's plot 1. Plot 1 is the histogram, and now look, it's saying plot 1 uses L1 and L2. It's saying plot 1 is coming from a frequency table. If you did this wrong, if you see P1 plot 1 using just L1 and you're using a frequency table, you made a mistake. Go back to the stat plot menu and make sure you set the frequencies to whatever list you're put your frequencies in. Maybe you're using L3, maybe you're using L4, just adjust it accordingly. If I press up now, this goes to plot 2, and again, it's using frequency table data, not raw data, and it's showing me the classes are in L1, the frequencies are coming from L2. So this is showing me the minimum value in my data set is a 0. If I click all the way to the right whisker, so that was the left whisker, the right whisker says the maximum value in the data set is 5, and 5 is not an outlier, so it goes ahead and makes the end of the right whisker be 5. If we come back to the box, the left end of the box is always Q1. The middle of the box is always the median. And the right end of the box is Q3. So it's telling me my minimum value is 0. The first quartile is 1. The median is 2. The third quartile is 3. And the maximum value is 5. This looks great. And so then what I can do is draw this on a graph, on my own graph paper or something like that. Let me show you how to find now the median, Q1, and Q3 from your frequency table, right on the frequency table itself. So we can always find that stuff using one variable statistics. Let me do that on the calculator, but then let me show you how to find that Q1 really is 1, the median is 2, and Q3 really is 3. So I'm going to quit out of here. Second, quit. I'll hit the stat button, not the stat plot, but the stat button. Press over to do calc. Don't hit edit. Don't hit edit. Go over to calc. If you hit edit, just hit this. If you accidentally hit edit here, just hit the stat button again and then press to the right to get calc. I'm doing one variable statistics. Now on my screen, because I'm using a TI-84, it tells me the list and it gives me this sort of screen. So I need to tell it my classes are coming from L1, my frequencies are coming from L2, because that's what I'm using. If you're using L3 and L4, put that stuff in. And that's going to give me the one variable statistics, and then if I press down, this will give me what's called the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary is the minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the max. And again, that's the same stuff that it's using to build the box plot. So you can use the trace on the box plot to get these numbers, or you can use one variable statistics, one var stats to get them. If you had a TI-83, when you press the one var stats button, or the one var stats command, it's going to look like this. It's going to come up on the screen and just say one var stats. You're going to have to tell it then, use L1 for your classes, comma L2 for your frequencies. Or if you were using raw data, so again, now I can go down and find that 5-number summary, which is the same thing from the box plot. If I was using the raw data like I did before, I'd say one var stats L1. I'm just going to flash back and do that stuff really fast, and then I'm going to come back and explain to you why this, well, let's go find these values on here, show how to find them on that frequency table, and then we'll come back and look at one var stats for that raw data. So here's my frequency table again. So I'm going to use cumulative frequencies. I'm going to add a column to this to show you exactly how to find where the median and Q1 and Q3 are in here. But we can kind of tell it from here. So there are 25 numbers in my data set here. If I go 25 plus 1, that's 26, and then divide by 2, 26 divided by 2 is 13. It means the median will be the 13th number. So let's go find the 13th number here. Okay, there's 3 zeros, that's 3. There's 6 ones, 3 plus 6 is 9. Now I've gone through 9 numbers. If I add 8, I've gone through 17 numbers. So I've gone a little too far, but now I'm in the class 2. I'm in the class of 2 people with 2 cars in their household. So I want the 13th number to be the median, and so that's definitely going to be in this class 2, people with 2 cars. So the median definitely is 2. If I want to find Q1, what did I say? The median was at number 13, so there are 12 numbers below that. So 12 numbers below that, if I take 12 plus 1, that's 13. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. And so I want to find the 6th number and the 7th number in the data set. 6 and 7, well, where's the 6th and 7th number? So there's 3 zeros, and then there's 6 ones. That's 9 numbers right there. So the 6th and 7th number are definitely both going to be 1s. So Q1 is definitely 1. Now I have to do the other thing to find Q3 here. I already said the median was the 13th number. So we've got 12 numbers above that. 12 numbers above that means 12 plus 1 is 13. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So I need to, from the median, count up 6 numbers and then the 7th number above that. Alright, so let's think about this. The median, again, was the 13th number. If I add 6 to that, so the 13th number plus 6, that's going to be the 19th number. The 19th number in my data set. And I need to add 7. So again, when I did the calculation, I got 6.5. So that means I need to use 6 and 7, the 6th and 7th numbers beyond the median. The median was the 13th number. It fell somewhere in this class. 13 plus 6 is 19, and 13 plus 7 is 20. So I need the 19th number and the 20th number. So let's find out where the 19th number and the 20th number would be. So here's 3 numbers. Here's another 6. That's 9 numbers so far. Here's another 8. That's 17 numbers so far. the 17th number is a 2, and so that means the 18th number and the 19th number and the 20th number all have to be 3s. So the median falls somewhere in this class of 3s. So sorry, not the median, but the third quartile, Q3. The median fell somewhere in here, so it's a 2. The first quartile, Q1, fell somewhere in here, so that's why Q1 is a 1. And when we count up all the numbers, Q3, the third quartile, is a 3. It falls somewhere in here. Again, you could list out all the data, all 25 numbers, and find it that way. It's a little bit cumbersome to do it that way. Here we can sort of think through from the frequency table. But of course, we can always get those values from the calculator. So again, I've gotten those values from the calculator from the 1var stats. And now I'm going to go back and put in that raw data real fast from the TV's example and do a 1var stats with raw data just to show you that. So here's a reminder that this is the TV's data. I'm going to put that back into L1. Here's the data, that raw data for a number of TVs that I put back into L1. And I'm going to rebuild my box plot and histogram for that. When I come to the stat plot menu, I need to change the frequency back to a 1 because it's raw data. Here again it's flashing A, so I hit alpha to turn that off and hit 1 for the frequency. I'm going to switch to plot 2, so I can just go up here, change plot 2. It's already a box plot from before. A is flashing again here, so I need to hit alpha to turn that off. Use a frequency of 1 because it's raw data. I'm going to quit out of here, do a zoom stat, and then go to the window to fix this. Again, my largest number was a 7, so I'll change this to 8, and this to a 1. But again, I want to change this. I'm going to make this negative 0.5 and make this 7.5. Hit graph. My box plot is up above. That looks great. If I do a trace on the box plot, minimum is 0, Q1 is 1, median is 2, Q3 is 3, and now the 5-number summary won't give me the whisker, but it will give me the maximum number here. So the 5-number summary will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 7. So I'll quit out of here, hit stat, move over to calc, 1var stats, and now I need to hit clear to blank out the frequency list because it's raw data in L1. I don't have frequencies now. Hit calculate and press down on here, and here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 7. That was the 5-number summary we got off the box plot. Again, if you've got a TI-83, it's going to look instead something like this. When it comes up, it'll say 1var stats, and you have to hit second L1, and that'll give you the 1var stats that way. Alright, that's how you build a box plot with a histogram using both raw data and a frequency table, and how to find that 5-number summary that matches up with the box plot using the 1var stats. Good luck.